Hello, and welcome to another episode of Studio Series with Master Craftsman Jim Linnell. As always, I'm Dan Snyder, your host, and I'm looking forward to hearing what Jim has to show us today. It's a beautiful piece with it's a collaboration with a bunch of different artists from all over the world, and it's going to be pretty cool. And yeah, so as always, go Eagles, and let's get started. Jim.
Well, howdy, everyone.
Hey.
Yes, we are here at Elk Track Studio on the, I guess it's not quite the eve of the big game, but some people are ready for it, it looks like. And that's good. But yeah, we've got a great piece of leatherwork I want to share with everyone today. It's it's just a piece that's got so many stories in it. I'll share as many as I can, but it came to me in a kind of a roundabout way. It was a collaboration, as you mentioned, of artists literally from around the world, and it was done on a double shoulder, I believe, that literally traveled around the world from one artist's studio or workshop to another. I've never not even counted. I don't even know how many different ones are represented here, but it's quite a bunch, and they are tops. I mean, they're some of the great leather workers in the world that just, and the people that created this, I think Gina Adams was the one that instigated this. She's over in Germany, and the piece of the group, I think at the time they were calling themselves the B2 Zone Artwork Collection. I think is kind of what it's called. In fact, it's on the piece, but it's framed and it's huge, and it's here in my shop. In fact, it used to be, as I understand, it used to be up at Springfield Leather too for a little while.
Yeah,
and
it was
then
on
it
display
moved
there.
on, and then it ended up. How it got to me, it ended up with there's a fella down in San Antonio, Jim Shipley, that has a bunch of art collection, and he just didn't have a facility to or a place to display it, and he asked if I, would have room, and I said, "Oh my gosh, yes!" It's a great collection of just magnificent stuff. So, in fact, now that I think about it, that the way this arrived here was last summer when Jürgen Volbach was in town doing a class here. He went from here down there, and he just loaded it up in his vehicle and brought it back up here. So I think it was actually hand delivered by Jürgen is how it got here to Elk Track Studio. But it really is an amazing piece, and I'll tell you a little bit about what I know of it, and as we go through it. So,
and just while we're talking, that piece is right behind you.
it is right behind me, yeah. And if we need to, I can back out of the way and maybe zoom in on it. But I think we've got some photos that will pop up here that are probably better than that. So,
Cool. Well, in my last count, I think it was 28 different artists.
28 different artists. Okay, and this is a
map there. So,
right. This is a map that was someone did on it that has the names of the artists and all plotted on a map of the globe, and so you can see that it literally did go around the world, and obviously lots of representation from the U.S. and North America and Europe, but it got to Australia and Japan and South Africa, South America. It really did make it the rounds. So I'm really I tell you how excited I am to have that here. So
yeah, and I believe that's if I'm right, that's every continent except Antarctica.
Right? Yeah, it's just it made the round. So it's an amazing piece, and I'm thrilled to have it here. So
cool. Well, let's get into some of the artists that are on there and kind of break it down a little bit for everybody.
Sure. There we go. There's a better look at it, and you'll notice in the kind of the upper left-hand corner there's a little bit of water spotting. That's how it was when it got here. But each one of those different elements there was done by a different artist. And if I remember right, they were just kind of free to do whatever they wanted to do on there was kind of the challenge. And I'm sure, in fact, I think somebody tracked down some of the comments made by some of these artists as it went from one place to the next. And what happens, as does with artists, is they get inspired by the ones that they look at. So there was certainly some of that went on as this thing traveled. So,
and with someone that has such a trained eye like yourself, can you see the different, I don't know, regional styles just by looking at it?
A little bit. There's certainly some great representations of the art as it comes from different regions, and yeah, I think that's one of the other things that makes it such an amazing piece of leatherwork too. But if we start in that upper left-hand corner there, we'll take a look at some work there. I think that one was done by Sandra Borges, and that, I believe that's where it started. She's in Portugal, and I believe that's where that piece, this piece started out, was with her. And again, I don't know much about. I do know, obviously, it's on the coast. In fact, I'm going to be flying into Lisbon, Portugal, later on this year to get on a cruise ship over there. So that's kind of fitting there, actually.
Cool.
And then next to that is a piece that was done by, I believe that one was done by Michael Dale, the guy with the horned helmet there.
Mhm.
Yeah, Michael is or Lion. I don't even know who it is or what it is, but I do know Michael. He actually lives in Greece. He was when I first met him, he was a policeman in Chicago, and he retired from Chicago Police Department, and he had been corresponding and got to know this gal in Greece. She actually lives on the island of Rhodes, I believe.
Wow.
And anyway, he's still there and still doing magnificent leather work and such. And he was obviously a part of that. The one just underneath there, that Phoenix, that was done by Anna Masters. She's over in, I think she's in the Czech Republic.
Okay, let me see here. I have a list.
Yeah, I'll let you hunt that down. But yeah, she and I got some leather work from her here too. She does some beautiful jewelry type stuff. Where she sets stones and things. In fact, she's been doing and selling some of her stuff to help fund some of the work she's doing to help some refugees from the Ukraine that have come to her country. And I know that she's been doing, using her skills to do that. But anyway, there's
cool. She's from Czechoslovakia.
Lovely gal. I would love to meet her. She's in Prague, is where she's at, if I remember right. But yeah, we correspond, and she's pretty easy to find if you get out there. She's got a website. Yeah, well, we may get those listed here.
Yeah, we'll find something to give them.
But yeah, anyway, very talented gal. Does a lot of stuff where she insets stones into the pieces that she does.
And I've always been fascinated by that, because the way I've seen some of those settings in leather, and it's just, it's so different from working with jewelry or with metal, and it's very cool process that they do.
Yes, it is. I'll put that up there for you. There's a piece that she sent me, and it's got a stone set in it. She did that. It's this was a thank you. I helped her with a little support for her efforts over there, and that was a thank you thing that came to me from her, and it was pretty awesome. I was very humbled to get that. So anyway, moving on, let's see, to the right of that as we pan across. I don't know if there's any more in this image here, but if we pan across there we go. We get to, and I got to look here at my map here. That's Anton de Witt, and he is in South Africa. So yeah, he's way down yonder. And you were asking about regional styles and so forth. You sure wouldn't guess that something that looks like maybe an Apache Indian might have been done in South Africa. But anyway, that's where it's at. Some of these too, and I've had this piece right behind me here. Some of these pieces, like that one right there, it is slightly embossed. So some of these pieces are more than just carvings on there. Some of these are embossed and raised out a little bit, and that's one of them that has a little bit of that relief in it.
Yeah, and I'm reading
and
here
each.
So on my notes here, I've been looking at it, and each artist kind of tells a little bit of a story about how they got it and what they decided to do. And Anton's here. He's from Port Elizabeth, South Africa, and he kind of noted that he does a lot of paintings and leather work with of the wild animals in South Africa. And he wrote about, I decided on a Native American face as my artwork because I have a kinship with their art and culture.
Okay.
So yeah, that was a pretty cool, reasoning there, and you would never guess that, but that's cool.
No, you wouldn't. The one to the right of that on your screen there, that's one of Clay Banyai's pieces. Clay is up in, I believe he's currently running the Tandy Leather Store in Rapid City if you wanted to track him down. But you've got an image there of an elk. You're looking him in the eye, and you've got a little bit of his antler. I actually have a piece of his here in the shop that he sent me, and it's a magnificent piece. It sits across the shop from me here, but it's really well done, and he loves to do that. He's a avid outdoorsman in that he lives really close to, I think it's the Teddy Roosevelt National Park. Don't quote me on that, but anyway, obviously he's right there next to Mount Rushmore and all of that. Yeah. And lots of wild animals. He's always taking pictures. He's out like before sunup on his weekends, out there trying to catch these critters while they're still out and about before they get back into the tall timber and such. So, but that's a very typical of his work. And yeah, that's not embossed or anything. It's but that eye is as glazed as you see it there. It really has a high shine on it.
Well, he wrote that he chose the elk because of the regal nature of it, and also because it really showcases a lot of his techniques that he likes to use when he's carving leather. And the way that he made the hair on it look that realistic.
It's very three-dimensional. If you run your hands over it, you can feel the hair. It's actually raised out. He worked very closely with a fellow by the name of Jan Schoonover, who was just awesome at the three-dimensional extreme embossing techniques. And he actually recorded some workbooks, I guess, or created some workbooks on how to do some of that work. So good guy. So
cool.
So moving on, I don't know if that's the only picture we get, but yeah, that's pretty good. We got two of them here. In the just below the Native American, you have a mountain goat, obviously from Colorado. That was one that was done by Kathy Flanagan, who she's just prolific outdoor artist. Well, she likes to do animals, and she is fantastic. She's fantastic at the creating the details. In fact, we do a lot of online video classes here from Elk Track Studio, and we just did one with her last night. She's halfway through doing a American bison, and where she's showing how to do all the hair and everything. And then next week she'll be doing the coloring and the painting of it. But she's just amazing. She's a Al Stoneman Award winner. I can't tell you the year that she won it, but she's an Al Stoneman Award winner. She's lives up there in South Dakota now too. She was in Colorado probably when this was done. Her husband retired from his job, and they moved up there to get away from the craziness of the Denver area. And she's still doing what she does. She's pretty popular at all of these leather shows. I know she goes over to Europe when they had that Elle Watts thing over there. She's one of the regular teachers at that event over there as well. So
Cool.
yes. And to the right of that, you have a piece that was done by Tim Pinkos. He's out in California. And obviously, you see the California there. And lots of different images there. I don't know. I should have probably looked, but I'll bet you those are all of the state, like the state animal, the state fish, the state bird, the state tree. I'll bet those are all of the official state.
He said so. He said the subjects of the tree and animals are among the best thing that this state has to offer. Even though I don't believe there are any grizzlies living in California, they were a big part of its history and a symbol on the state flag.
Yeah.
So,
well, the golden trout is, I know, and that's a quail. Don't know about that butterfly, but it's obviously that's got to be a sequoia that he's got pictured there. So
yeah, and he really wanted to highlight the incredible size and presence that these redwoods, have been.
Oh yeah,
so
yeah, he
really
did a great job of representing California there. So.
Wow. And there's something to be said also about all of these artists working in such a small space. Like the ability to make these details just pop and really shine through. It's just a testament to their talent.
There's a lot of color. There's quite a few of them that are left natural, but a lot of them use color, and all of them I think did their coloring very well. They and I don't know if they were given a size limitation when they did their thing. When we look at some of these others, it looked like they used whatever space was left when they got to those.
Well, and you don't want to be that guy that takes up half the piece.
Yeah, and they didn't. I mean, we'd have never got so many artists on there had they done that. So
cool.
So moving on from there, what else do we have? I think that's all that's in that image. Here, well, moving up there. Okay, so we're in. Obviously, that's Arizona, right? And that was Kim Eoff, Eoff, in Arizona that did that image there. I don't know that I know Kim. I might. One of the problems with teaching so many classes and being in so many places is I know names and I do know this name, but I don't know that I have a face with that name. So, but obviously that's very Arizona. You got the pots down there at the base of that saguaro. You've got the saguaro cactus. That's very much they're again giving recognition to the state of Arizona.
Sure.
And then to the right of that, we have Veronica Passos, and she's in Brazil. In fact, I think she even wrote that on there, that she's in Brazil. She obviously did, and where that all came from. That obviously the Lion King. It's wonderful, and they're utilized the natural burnish and so forth of the leatherwork, and very nicely done. And again, just another interesting piece of work there.
Sure.
I guarantee it's the only piece of South American leatherwork I think that I have in my shop. So I think that's the only example of it I have.
Let's see. Okay, so she says, let's see. I had it just a second ago. She's in Brazil, right? Oh, right. Portugal.
No, Brazil.
Oh, Brazil. Okay, there's a lot on here to keep track of, and it's just really cool. Okay, so she said that she based that on on the biblical verse in Revelation. Then one of the elders said to me, "Do not weep. See, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the Root of David, has triumphed."
Awesome.
So yeah, she wanted to do. She said that she used her old Al Stolman knife with laid red stones and just used for the shadowing and the stamping, she just used 2 bevelers, a veiner and a camouflager, and a pear shader and a cedar. So yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's one of the other things that one can only guess. But all of these folks from wherever they are in the world, who knows what sort of tools and
Right.
such that they had to work with. They,
Yeah.
I promise you, there isn't a Springfield leather down in Brazil. And so
Probably not.
what those look like and how they had to go about getting what tools they have is
Mhm.
another thing that just leaves lots of questions. So
And yeah, and they have a ton of great leather down there.
they do have a lot of leather that comes out of Brazil, no
Probably a
question
lot
about
of
it.
tanneries, but
Yeah.
um, that's really cool to see. Like, and just to think about, where they're at. Um, it might not be so easy just to get an Amazon delivery with whatever tool you need. And
Oh
that
yeah.
goes back to what we were talking about last time, that um, with any skilled trade, you're gonna have to come to a point where you're gonna just have to make something that works, right? And it's just interesting to think about all the different levels of creativity that come to mind when you're looking at a piece, and you're understanding that I don't have that stamp or I don't have that
Yeah.
beveler, and then you just be like, well, I guess I'll make one. So it's pretty cool.
Learn how to make do. Yeah, there's some great
Right.
examples there. I think if we go down in this picture, we got a couple more there, right?
Okay.
There's actually, if we go to the left just a little bit, we got no, not that far left. There you go. I think the globe itself was done by Gina Adam, and I think that she probably was um, the maybe the inspiration. I think she used to work for a magazine. I have another piece of work here. In fact, if people will tune into the segment we did on artists from Germany, I have a piece of leatherwork of hers hanging on the wall here that is magnificent. It's a
And
couple of horses.
I think it started with Gina, if I'm reading this correctly, in 2015.
Mhm.
And then it looks like it took a couple years to circle the globe, but yeah, she's in Germany, and it started with her, and then I think she sent it to, looks like, Tim Pinkos after that, and then just kept making its rounds.
Yeah, it moved all over the world. It's just an amazing story that goes with that. Right adjacent to that, um, we have George Williams. He's in Georgia, and I think he's the one you're looking at there with the um, right with the flower there.
Yeah.
Just above that, those leaves and such, just barely above that. I see the GA in there. I bet that I imagine that's Gina Adams did those as well.
And it says that George here, that's the Cherokee rose. It's the Georgia
Cherokee Road,
state
yeah.
flower. And and he has a little story. It's really neat to read all these little snippets about why they did it. And he said, that flower grew wild on my grandmother's farm, and I still have some in my yard. So and that's
It
pretty.
is the state flower, yes. I did a class over there, I don't know, several years ago, and we made a wallet. It's a little one of these money clip wallets here. I don't know if I'm on
Mhm.
camera. There we are.
Yeah.
Money clip wallet. Well, the design that I drew for it was a design for the Cherokee rose, and so I ran a
Wow.
went and found some actual photos of that rose, and then I ran a.
Yeah.
Obviously, you got to have an arrow running through there, right? So I have an
Right.
arrow running through the middle of it. So there's a
Yeah.
Cherokee rose pattern for a one of these money clip wallets here. So anyway, that was
Wow.
um, that is their state flower. Good, and that's how that came about because of that. So
Yeah.
he did a great job with that. Awesome, awesome.
Cool. So let's see what else we got.
So that's probably how we got in that image. Okay. Now
Now we're
let's see.
going back up towards the top, right?
Yeah, we're back up on top there, and we're looking at oh my goodness, Silvia Guerrera. She's down in Australia. She did
Okay.
that. And yeah, Guerrera sounds Hispanic, right? She is
Right.
definitely an Australian. In fact, she's going to be. I was just communicating with her recently. She's planning on making a stop here at Uptrack Studio after the show in Sheridan this year. So she'll be
Okay.
here. Yeah, she's been here before, but she's gonna make a trip back. But she
Yeah.
teaches. I don't know if you're familiar with down there. One of the main leather working suppliers for Australia is Birdsall's.
Yeah. Yep.
They at least at one time also had a tannery where they would tan kangaroo hides and such because
They still do. They still,
uh,
yeah, I know they
they
still
used
do
to get
that.
kangaroo hides and lace from them. They used to make
Yep.
kangaroo lace and such. Anyway,
Yeah.
she teaches classes for them, and so I know. So she's an active teacher, leatherwork instructor. They just had the Dimensions in Leather event down there in Australia, and she was obviously actively involved with that, making that happen. So,
Okay.
um,
Well,
yeah,
she said here that she was sitting there she took some time to think about it, and she decided on the Day of the Dead musician for her love of live music and music in general. And yeah, she said that she's a big fan of antique, and she wanted to kind of capture that essence and bring it to life. So
oh, she
um,
did. It's a
yeah.
wonderful representation there. So, and then right next to that we have that's from Howard Lee, I believe. I believe I have that. Yeah, Howard Lee. He also, and I don't know that I know him, so I can't tell you much about him. But he's also from Australia as well. And I would guess I've never seen a flower like that in Texas or anywhere as I've lived. So I'm guessing that's probably some authentic Australian flora there.
Well, I'll give you one guess to
Okay.
what famous plants that they have down there that koalas like to eat.
Oh, that's a eucalyptus, right?
Yeah, the eucalyptus gum. That's
Okay. And so
said
that's
here.
like their bloom or something?
Yeah, he said that they actually flower, but these kind of are some that are a little bit more prolific. He said it kind of blooms real slowly, and then they're a great pollinator, and they grow all over Alaska. Um, yeah,
Australia, not Alaska.
I'm sorry.
They don't do too well in Alaska.
Right. Australia, excuse me. But yeah, so that's a pretty neat representation of the
That's
flora.
awesome. So you were asking about some of the regional influences. Well, we're sure seeing that, aren't we?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And it's not, maybe not just the style of what their technique or what have you, but also just representing where they're from and what they do, and like that background on there. I don't know if I've ever seen a background like that.
It could be a homemade tool, but who knows?
Yeah.
That's just awesome. I don't know that I could lay a name to it. It's certainly not something that came from craft tool ever.
Yeah.
I don't think, but I may be wrong. But it's awesome. I'm again,
Mhm.
one of the tool companies that used to exist. I don't know if they're still making tools or not. Was Kelly Tool Company in New Zealand, and there's a lot of those folks down there. Would have had them as their main supplier for a while, anyway. So,
Well, yeah, and
anyway,
it's so neat. Like that's why I love this piece, because there's so many stories in it, right? Like
it is, and we're not even halfway through.
right.
I think we have one more in this image, and then maybe we ought to take a break before we
Okay.
go on to the next one. But let's scroll down here. I think we have one more in this image. Well, maybe two more. The one on the left there, that looks awfully like a lot like a Sheridan type of a
Mhm.
pattern that actually was done by a guy by the name of Adam Tanner. And at the time he did this, I'm looking at the notes here. He was in Arizona at the time, but he now is just out here on the west side of Fort Worth. He's moved his operation over here. He does amazing work. He's just a classic Western floral carver and does really beautiful work. He is a saddle maker. He does all kinds of stuff. He even sets up. I don't know if you've ever went to the Cowboy Christmas over in Las Vegas, or you probably have heard of it.
I've heard of it. Yeah.
Anyway, it's there with the PRCA Rodeo Finals and
Mhm.
goes on. Anyway, he has been there. I don't know if he was there this last year, but he has gone there with his stuff and set up there and I think done well there. But usually he's one of those kind of folks that I think the hard thing for him to do a show like that is to put aside all of the custom orders he has so he could build an inventory to take to something like that.
Right.
He is usually very backed up, and he sells his stuff, at a very good price. But the quality of his work is just without question. He's just really very talented at that type of work. So
Yeah.
so and then what's that?
Oh, go ahead, Jim. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, to the right of that, we have another. I believe that's also another Australian. That's Maree Ager. She is just phenomenal. I've had to judge her work several times at the leather debut up in Sheridan, and if this is her creativity, her artistic skills are incredible, and she's just a brilliant artist. And when she applies it to leather, she just goes to a level of realism and precision that's unbelievable.
Yeah, you can tell that in that bee down there, and then just the way that the flowers are just layered, that really shows you kind of the depth of everything. And that possum that she drew is just that's really cool, and it's really cool how she incorporated the circle into that design.
Yeah,
Depth on it is incredible.
her work and just craftsmanship. Like I said, I absolutely love having to judge her work because it allows me to pour over it with incredible detail. This here was obviously done a number of years ago. But she just every time I see something, I think she's moved her own skills up another notch every time I see something.
Well, and she mentioned that she liked using watercolor. So those
you
are
kind of see that there. You can kind of see that effect there.
And so she decided to kind of stand out a little bit and go for that watercolor look, which I never even thought about using watercolor on leather. But
well, I think once you get out of the world you live in, working at a leather supply company, and looking at what comes to you in a bottle already for you to sell, I think you'll find that people all over the world use whatever kind of coloring mediums that they have available to them, and whether they're made for leather or not, they figure out how to make them work, and that's
that. Oh, sorry, that was my dog. But that's interesting that you say that, because I was just talking to a customer today, helping him out, and he had no idea. He'd been working with leather for years, and somehow he just never heard of antique gel or paste, and he just used boot cream.
Yeah.
And it was like he came in, he's like, I've been reading about this, and I said, well, you need to try some of it out. It's going to make your.
If you ever open a fresh bottle of Thieving's Paste Antique, it sure does smell and look like shoe polish.
Yeah, and he said that he just uses like paint thinners and creams, boot cream, and shoe dye and stuff, and just mixes it all together and make it work. And he's got his own. He was very hesitant about using the antique because he's like, well, I have my own way of doing things, and I've already dialed it down to know exactly what I need to do. And I said, well, this one's easy. You just take it out and swipe it on and rub it off. But
that's the definition of a craftsman there.
Yeah.
Well, we have a lot more stuff to look at here, but maybe we need to take a break about here, huh?
Yeah, that sounds good. My dogs are barking at me, so they must need to go outside. So I will go do that, and we'll pick this back up here in a second.
Okay.
Thanks, Jim.